Here we are again, Yellowbrick Studios, not really the studio, but in the COVID studio, which is in everybody's home. Excited. My name's Dion Walcott. I'm the VP of Partnerships for Yellowbrick. I'm here today with the founders of Capsul from India.
Hey, Dion.
How are you guys doing today? I'll let you guys introduce yourself, and then we'll get into a little bit of a conversation. But go ahead and feel free. We'd love to let you guys introduce yourself.
Thank you, Dion, for having us. We are really excited to be, speaking to you and later on partnering with you to kind of bring the streetwear course to India. We are Capsul, India's first streetwear platform. We've been basically working on bringing original streetwear brands to India. Bhavisha and I, we are co-founders of the platform. And so I am Meenakshi. Sorry about that. I'm Meenakshi, co-founder of Capsul. Yeah, and this is what we are. We are Capsul, streetwear platform, bringing original streetwear brands to India. We have an events property called Word in the Street, which we basically bring to a different city every month. And before COVID times, we used to, this property used to help bring a lot of people from the community and like indie labels on the same platform, and would have been a jam-packed day, every time we would do this. So this is what we have been up to. Bhavisha?
Amazing.
Hi, everybody. Hey, Dion, thank you so much for having us. Namaste from India. My name is Bhavisha, and Meenakshi and I, she's already told you about what Capsul is. I like to say that Capsul is India's very own sort of local streetwear, India's local streetwear shop, We're both ex-Puma. We've been with Puma for about 7, 8 years, working with India as well as working outside of India. And that's kind of where we, saw firsthand the power of culture creators and streetwear brands, and not just streetwear, right? It's the lifestyle brands now. And how sneaker brands and a lot of sort of like brands across different industries, including like banks to, soda, all of these people, collaborate with culture creators, and that makes their brands, makes the bigger brands so much more relevant. And it's kind of something that we've been doing with Puma while we were working, here in India and in our respective geographies. And it was kind of like we were bitten by that, like this culture creator, sort of working closely with them. And, the idea of doing something in India really was, even while we were outside of India, we really wanted to come back to India and, participate in this whole sort of bubbling street culture movement that we saw. And yeah, that's what brought us back to India on a wing and a prayer. And that's how Capsul came about.
I like how you said that, on a wing and a prayer. My first question, I was researching, a large part of my job is trying to find brands and people who are doing exciting stuff in the industry. I was super happy to find out about Capsul. But then I thought about India, and I'm like, there's so many people in India. And then it made me really think about how did you guys get started? How did you really get the interest in streetwear? Because it seems like there wasn't that many brands in streetwear in India that were trying to do things, and I would call it more in a contemporary cultural way. Super interested to think about or to hear about, how did you guys get started? What was the, as I call, the streetwear contemporary culture virus inserted?
Where did it caught on us?
Yeah, where did it catch you? How did it all come to be?
So I'll go first. Bhavisha and I, both of us met at Puma India. We used to work in the brand marketing team, and we worked together in Puma India for 4 years. And then I moved on to work with the EMEA region of 27 countries, working in the commercial marketing team. And, and I have a design background. So during my studies, I would have, I've studied evolution of fashion and culture. And that was always there at the back of the mind. But the job at Puma is where the real exposure to streetwear and the youth culture happened. Back in India, we used to work a lot with the young culture creators. And when I was part of the regional team where there was so much of culture emerging in all the 27 countries that were part of the region, it was like a big wave of exposure that happened in a way. And I was like in thick of, all the collaborations that Puma was doing at that time. So like, the rise of the brand from just being an athleisure brand to being like a brand which is now, part of the big league. And basically the culture creators for the streetwear industry as well, because Puma has a section called Puma Select, and they would work a lot, they would collaborate a lot with like a lot of young designers. And that is where the story of collaboration happened, and Puma became hot again. And now if you look, they are working with like the biggest brands and like designers, Rihanna, Mike Sherman, Chinatown Market. They're just dropping another collaborative piece with the Hundreds. So yeah, I was part of that scene, and that's where this whole, like my study background and the work, what I was a part of, that came together for real. And I was like, okay, this is what I want to do, continue to be doing. Back at home, there was a lot happening, like young designers were coming up, and obviously like, there was not an intrinsic streetwear, like contemporary streetwear culture, but there was something happening, people were designing new things, and a lot of streetwear silhouettes were being converted into street luxe labels here. And we could see that so much was happening around it. Sneaker culture was rising. And that's when we decided that we have to go back and do this together.
Well, I mean, that's one half of the story. So congratulations for taking the risk. I'm interested to hear the other half of the story.
There was sneaker culture was sort of like bubbling in India. India had its first sneaker store in 2016. And automatically where you have sneakers, you also have sort of independent streetwear to go with it, right? Ever since I was a kid, I never wanted to wear stuff that was mass produced. I mean, that's just how I was. I just didn't know what that sort of an attitude meant, but I wanted to wear something that was different, sort of have my spin on things. And even when I was with Puma, I would invariably end up picking up stuff that invariably no one else wanted, or it was just like different. That's just how it has been with me. Coming back to how we sort of did this and what contemporary streetwear culture, it was in India. Sneaker culture was on the rise. There were these amazing contemporary labels that were doing a brilliant job basing their label on the backs of great storytelling. One such example is a brand that both Meenakshi and I really love and admire called Nor Black Nor White.
I've heard of them, actually. I've heard of them.
They're phenomenal. The way they sort of represent in Indiana, if I could say that, I don't know if that's a word, but the way they represent India through fabric, silhouettes, and make it wearable across the board, globally relevant. So, and there are more such brands. There's another brand called Biscuit, a brand called Jaywalking, Human.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of these sort of pillars coming together at the same time. Skateboarding was on the rise, back in 2016, I may have my numbers wrong, but there were all of a sudden, we had 14 or 15 skate parks. And while this may seem like a strange number to you, because you probably, seen so many skate parks around, I always feel like India's at a time where, where the US used to be probably like in the 70s, 80s, hip hop was on the rise. Skateboarding was on the rise, all of these different cultures which sort of speak a universal language and have people dress a certain way, which becomes the fashion expression of their subculture, was sort of all coming together. And I think Indians were getting a lot more, while Indians have always been experimental with fashion, it's always been sort of like an indie fusion, invariably. But a lot more people were getting more experimental with fashion. Fashion was becoming aspirational. So we sort of simultaneously fell in love with all the brands that Puma was collaborating with. So I would say that Puma and, visits to LA, Complex, all of these magazines sort of opened our world and gave it a structure, gave it identifiable names. So we kind of always knew that was there, but we understood the scale of it. We understood the business of this culture. And we saw a gap and we're like, these are such amazing brands. Like I feel great when I wear Chinatown, the Hundreds, Stussy, Rude. So how, what, Meenakshi, should we go back? And Meenakshi was thinking the same thing at the same time, you know, like maybe we should go back and do this. Let's try and bring these brands to India. So, you know, that's pretty much what the scene was and what we've sort of come and we're hoping to facilitate.
I mean, first off, before I even ask another question, I take my hat off to both of you for making the jump, because I feel like a lot of people work in corporate and they have big dreams and they see where the gaps are, but it's very scary to make the jump to try to do your own thing. So congrats to you guys for trying, and actually not trying, for doing, because you're doing it right now. The question that I have, absolutely. Like, I know how hard it is to make that transition from like corporate to being independent. What I would love to know, like, I talk to a lot of people who are trying to do what you guys are doing, and they don't realize that, like, I think that working for a brand like Puma helps to shape, you know, the knowledge on how you're going to do what you do. Maybe if you both can speak to like how, or two questions, how has Puma helped you do what you're going to do? And the second question is, do you think if it wasn't for Puma, would you be able to do it?
I don't know if I would be doing this if I was not with Puma, or like not with any street, like, you know, youth culture brand, right? You know, for that sake, because I wouldn't have been exposed to this side of things, because my first job was with a traditional jewelry company. Okay. So I might have been doing something like that, because I also love, you know, crafts of India, but that's a different story. Yeah, so that if I have answered the second question first, and Puma, I mean, I think we are what we are. I mean, at least I can speak for myself. I am what I am, you know, in the career phase because of Puma. Just the understanding of business, what are the things that are required, what are the time leads, you know, knowing the people through the projects that Bhavisha and I used to do together, all the cultural leaders in India. Like today, there are so many friends that we have from the community, and all of them are doing so well, but we were introduced to them while we were working at Puma, you know, via some project. You know, we've been doing live sessions with all those friends. A few names would be, you know, we had a chat with the Soul and Surf team, you know, on the surfing scene in India. Then, you know, just a lot of sneakerheads, musicians, DJs, creatives, you know, all these people are part of our community, are actually the first few people that we knew via the projects that we did at Puma. But apart from that, you know, just the understanding of what merchandising is, what is the kind of range that you can drop, what does the consumer want, content, what kind of content you can serve them, and just the ethics of the business, you know, like how ethical you have to be to run the business in the right way. I think all of that has come from Puma, and thankfully we were part of a very strong, ethical, cool team in India and international both, and we've learned a lot from them. Internationally, I think our first, you know, the first person that we contacted in terms of expanding our business, as in bringing the business to India, was through Puma, you know, like our friends internationally have also happened like that. So yeah, Puma has been the platform which has helped us in a big, big way.
That's amazing. I mean, I feel like that's something that I feel like a lot of people need to hear, just because working with a brand sometimes is looked upon like it's the wrong thing to do, but you guys had a very positive experience.
Yeah, and just knowing all the people in the brands also, right? Like before we knew Bobby Hundreds, you know, directly, we knew him through his collaboration, or like, you know, just the introduction of Puma Select in our lives. You know, we've done so many projects with Usain Bolt, with, you know, Arsenal, and like so many international projects that happened. It was all because of Puma, and that exposure definitely adds to the experience and, you know, everything.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'd say that if some things are meant to be, they're going to happen. It's just, you know, how you get to it remains to be seen. Having said that, I don't think our journey would have been so smooth had it not been for our experience in Puma.
Right.
Because we had the amount of experience that we had, we were taken seriously by people. We understood how to merchandise, how to buy, even though we were in marketing, you know, we worked very closely Puma is a great organization in the sense that it's relatively lean, so everybody sort of gets, you sort of get a sense of what other departments are doing, especially with marketing and key product. So, and considering Capsule's whole positioning was to bring capsule products, key products, for the past 8 years, we've pretty much been doing that, minus the kind of brands that we've been able to bring down, right from how to approach the whole presentation. So even before we brought brands on, the way we had to pitch ourselves, pitch our market, pitch our vision, like what we did at Puma, and being able to sort of package things in a certain way certainly helped. Knowing how to even buy products, even buying in size sets, how many size sets to buy, right. Having an organic understanding of what the most popular size sets are. While that's kind of pretty, similar worldwide, but it's just having a certain confidence to be able to take this step, So for sure, our journey with Puma sort of brought us to where we are.
So, I mean, from what I'm hearing, I want to make sure that, there's a lot of students who reach out to us about our streetwear course with Parsons, and they have a lot of different questions. And I'm always telling people how important it is not to just learn or have an interest or a passion, but also know that doing anything really revolves around managing relationships. So you guys working at Puma, it sounds like you guys figured out that the key for you being able to jump is how do you manage the relationships and the lessons that you took from Puma. If you can, how important is it, or maybe just speak to how important it is to managing relationships when you want to start doing something on your own?
I think that's the key of it, right? Like, as I mentioned earlier as well, like our first connect, in the streetwear world happened through one of our friends who was working at Puma as well. His name is Sven, lives in Germany. Hi, Sven, if you're there. But, like I think the first ever trade show that we went to was Berlin Seek. And that's where that was the first time when we interacted with a lot of brands. 2.5 years back, it was tougher, like right now, it's been made easier for people to get in touch with brands and have a lot more conversation than we could have had 2.5, 3 years back. But yeah, it's the key, like managing relationships, not only with the people, just thinking that, okay, that person might help me in future, from that perspective, but also you learn a lot from each of your friends in that whole circle. Like, even now, people help us all the time. Like, if we have any questions related to business or what's happening, even during COVID times, how are you guys, working on your plans? What's happening digitally? What are you guys going to do with your budgets after COVID? All these kind of insights are coming to us from our friends, and that helps us kind of then work backwards and again, like both of us work based on those kind of insights.
Right.
That's definitely there.
Yeah, I think that's super important. I'd love to hear the other side. I call it the other side because I know you guys are too.
Sure, yeah. I mean, we kind of operate like that as well. Between Meenakshi and me, we're like fire and ice. And it works really well for us, It's great to have like our different sort of personalities because it just helps us come out with a more rounded view with invariably two very starkly divergent opinions. Which sometimes can be the bane of a working day, but we make it work.
It's okay. It's like a marriage.
Yeah. Yes. So, I mean, I think without relationships, I don't think anything sort of like works. It's not just about the industry that we're in. It's not just about fashion. Any industry, in fact, people who have the ability to build their own communities or build their own sort of, points to sound things off for them, is just, those are the kind of people who normally, like people who can manage people and who work well with people succeed. So without that and without that relationship, nothing works. We recently had Bobby do a sort of like, so we have this thing called a chat room on Capsule, which is basically where we use Instagram's AMA, so the questions feature, to have the community sort of curate a questionnaire. So it's not just Meenakshi and me sitting and thinking up questions. it just brings a lot of variety and diversity in the kind of questions, and it makes for a very interesting interview. So we would have never probably thought to have asked Bobby why his foot was in a cast when he was in the, when he was on Blueprint, but someone actually did. So it makes for a very interesting interview. And the reason I'm bringing it up is somebody actually asked Bobby about networking. And his whole answer was, networking is just a fancy sort of corporate way of saying, managing people and building relationships, genuine, authentic relationships. And without that, you just can't work. And I mean, with independent brands, whether you call them streetwear or whether you call them a brand that's just, on the other spectrum, just a fashion label starting up, if you don't have your people to give you that boost and sort of be your advocates, I don't think you're going to get very far.
No, for sure. I mean, that's pretty much with everything. Like I like to highlight that just because people think, I can just be creative and just stay in the basement and do all these cool things. But relationships are a key thing to getting anything forward, especially when you jump out on your own. So there's another question, kind of a follow-up question to that relates to India itself. Someone had just asked it in the Q&A. Since you guys are eventually going to become, the benchmark of what streetwear is in India, in my opinion.
Your word to God, Dion, from your mouth to God.
What are some of the brands that you mentioned earlier? Some streetwear brands that are in India. You mentioned a few of them.
Yeah, so I mean, it's more like, they weren't necessarily like, not everyone may call them streetwear. So okay. My definition of streetwear is just like a fashion representation of a certain culture. So if you go, and streetwear is constantly evolving. So even though it just started off with t-shirts and hoodies, it's gone on to expand a lot of different aesthetics. Right. So if you consider the broader definition, then sure, all of these could be streetwear brands. Right. Brands that we really love are Nor Black Nor White, Jaywalking, Biscuit, Human, which is a street luxe label. Meenakshi, am I missing any?
Quite a few more. Like there's not one. There's quite a lot of them. I'm forgetting right now the brands, but yeah. In this whole youth fashion generation labels, there are a lot of them that are coming up.
So in that space, one of the questions that just came in is, what is the vision of streetwear? What do you think the streetwear vision, or what is it going to look like in India versus what it looks like in North America? What's your guys' vision for it?
Well, I mean, our vision basically is, one part is something that we are already working on, which was basically to bring the international brands to India, the brands which have inspired us, always, and the beauty that we see behind each product that they develop, to share that with, our friends and family here. That is one space that obviously we're working on, but the other part, which is a Capsule to become a platform for the Indian labels to be seen by the global audience, and that aesthetic, exists in India. We are a huge population of youth culture is bubbling here. There's so much happening, like, even in all genres, like in hip hop, in fashion, in art, and the global audience have to take notice of that. There has to be a time where people would like to see what's happening in India, and we want to be the platform which provides that kind of osmosis.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, I'm super interested to see, because I feel like every different community comes up with their own taste and tone. Mm-hmm. So eventually to see what the taste and tone looks like from India.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, for the way I see it, it has to be something which is, and some of the brands, the labels I've already mentioned are that, those are at par with any international label, and right. It stand out. It's obviously made in limited runs. They do drops. There's great storytelling. So those are great labels. The fact that they're from India is a secondary piece, and that's the sign of something which has like global resonance. Right. So if I'm not mistaken, Biscuit is stocked in Berlin. Nor Black Nor White is definitely stocked in. They do pop-ups in New York. Canada, quite a few places. In fact, they were at Complex Con a couple of years ago.
Oh, did they? They did Complex Con.
Yes. Wow. So that's what it is. I mean, I think like our vision would be to see brands from India being spoken with the same sort of cultural clout as a lot of streetwear brands now are spoken of. That would be up.
So from the building your own business side, because there's the entrepreneurship side of it, what would you say were some of the challenges that you guys have had to face that you wouldn't have known were there?
Well, when we started, it was, I would say, the first step that we took towards building the business was in June of 2017. Right, Bhavisha? June of 2017, yeah. So almost 3 years back. The first challenge was that, and that's the time when it was very, very difficult to get in touch with the streetwear brand owners and to find people who could actually agree to give you products, because India was not seen as the market at all. Even if we met the people and we presented our vision and what we were going to do, we were not taken seriously, because people have always known or seen India as a market for traditional things or massier things, so it was
very market that won't spend too much, that wants like quick, cheap mass product.
Right.
Yeah. And we kept on telling people that it's not just a market for textiles, like there's so much more that can happen.
Fair
so
enough.
That was a really tough phase where we were like, how do we get the first brand? And luckily, just things fell in the right place. Even though we visited so many trade shows, it was very tough to crack like a good label to agree to give products to us.
Right.
But things fell in the right place, and then we managed to get, I think one of the first few brands that we managed to get was the Hundreds. And we were like, wow, because Hundreds is one of the labels that we absolutely love. And we were like, okay, we are onto a good start.
Good.
So that is where we started. We are bootstrapped till now. So finance has always been, topic of challenge, like all the time. Like if you want to do anything marketing wise, it's always like our hands are tied.
Nice.
So we always work in restricted environments, which is fun as well. But both of us come from Puma, and coming from a corporate environment where budgets are not that big a constraint, you have lesser budgets and bigger budgets depending on the scenario and projects. But it's not like that you don't have money to do anything and then you have to sell products, or you have to just communicate what you're trying to do to the people. So that was a big change, and that actually for me, that became a challenge. But now we have eased into it and we know that, okay, this is what our scene is and we have to manage in that. What else? Apart from that, India is so big, there's so many people. Reaching out to the youth is not easy, and there's so many labels and brands, trying to market. Even though they're not streetwear, they would streetwear has become like the buzzword in fashion in India. People, it's like hashtag streetwear to everything. So that's when you're actually working on marketing and you're trying to put your word out there, that becomes a bigger challenge. So
that's
I can't think of any more points, but but we've been having fun, kind of wading through all these kind of things.
Yeah, you got to make sure you have fun. Bhavisha, I'm interested to hear what you've seen as some of the challenges.
So, the biggest challenge from the get-go was, importing, the process of sort of shipping products in. Because, the Indian customs can be very challenging with the kind of documents required and stuff like that. And so, because while we were in marketing and we knew how to do that, we knew how to buy product, but we had never, ever been exposed. Like product would magically appear when we needed it, So we never had to really bother with getting stuff done. So right from getting your licenses, to getting the right shipping partner, to even managing the whole process, that is something which till date is a big challenge and painful, But between Meenakshi and me, we split it, and it's proving to be quite a teacher, that part of the whole process. And that in itself leads to a lot of a few other challenges, because our obviously our orders are tight. We're building the market right now. It takes a little bit of time, because it's not like XYZ sort of like containers full, right? So we have to wait. So the waiting time is slightly longer. I think that's the key challenge. And the other key challenge we find is that because we're such a nascent market, and mostly streetwear is So you have people who truly understand what these brands and what streetwear is all about, and it's not just about like a logo, and it's about the stories and etc. There are a whole bunch of people who want to flex, and then when they want to flex, flexing means not buying from your country, but buying from from another country.
Right.
So just to flex that you got it from here and you got it from there. So I think those are the two challenges that we face.
I love the fact that you use the term flex, because it's so cool.
Yeah. If you'd like to hear a few stories, I can add to that whole logistic problem that we face all the time. The first time we wanted to import stuff,
Right.
the Indian customs, they actually require the chemical composition of every product that you're importing. And we were like, okay, maybe this is a requirement. Everybody faces that. So we, happily sent this request to all the labels that we had signed the deal with. And they were like, what chemical composition? I don't even know, like my teas are just made of cotton, like I can't give you certificates of chemical composition. And then we were like,
and mind
so
you,
much
Europe
of back and forth.
US is taking these without any certificates. So what certificates do you want?
Yeah. And, it was so much back and forth. And to that, this brand Individualist.
Right.
And so they had started with their screen printing kits, right? Such a cool product. So we saw it and we were like, we want to bring it to India. We ordered a few pieces and it was stuck in customs for the longest time because they had the inks, and the inks were taken as like major chemicals that we wanted to import, and we didn't have the license to import chemicals. And it was stuck in the customs for the longest time. So these are like,
That's actually a really
funny
really
incidents that happen and kind of like break your head.
Actually, I would love to hear another story about that. That's funny, hard, whatever. Like, I think stories are the most important thing when it comes to like getting anything done. Because like when hard times hit you, it's the stories that you laugh about that will make you be like, that was hard, but like we can laugh about it now. We got to keep it pushing.
Yeah.
I think you shared a different story with me the first time we talked when we first were on the call. I'd love to hear a story about just through the challenges, trying to get it all started because of India. Yeah.
I know what
Bhavisha loves to say that. Bhavisha loves to tell that story.
I know what story you want. So yeah, the first time we were bringing product in and we faced all these challenges, and it was coming up to a time where we needed to sort of do our pilot test because we couldn't wait any longer. So when we couldn't hack the whole, and I'm using the word hack very liberally, but when we couldn't figure out all the sort of documents that the Indian customs needed, because and obviously, because we come from Puma, our first thought is to go to the right people, the established proper channels and proper sort of big companies, and who are not going to sort of necessarily help out someone who's starting out like us. So we're like, okay, fine, we can't keep waiting for this. So Meenakshi and I took a flight to Frankfurt. We picked up our product. We had all these boxes and we were staying in this really shady area because I think there was some sort of like in Germany, they have a ton of fairs, like right from cigar fairs to, I don't know, furniture fairs and everything. And the minute you have a fair in any city, all the hotels are booked out. So unfortunately, we were in this really shady neighborhood opposite the red light district. Anyway, we go pick up all our product, and so it's really strange because it was like there's this taxi that pulls up and suddenly there are like cartons that come out, go into our shady little hotel, and the guy's just like looking at us like, what the hell's going on? Anyway, we remove all the stuff from the cartons and now we have to physically carry it back, and we've got luggage limit and everything, but we had to sort of it was expensive to fly there, so which was going to pretty much cost the freight plus customs. So it's not like we were saving any money on any of that. Anyway, so we packed everything in. We've managed to sort of, we were slightly overweight, but we managed to not get charged anything extra. We're like, okay, high five, we're in the flight, land in Bangalore. I was like, let the bags come, please let the bags come. My bags come. And I'm sort of like, so sort of like ebullient. I get both my bags, put them on the trolley, and I'm sort of like, going towards Meenakshi. I suddenly get a call from Meenakshi. I'm like looking straight at her. She's like, don't come to me, turn around. My bag has been X marked. They're going to X marked basically by the customs guys. They've taken my bag. I don't know what's going to happen. You turn around and get the hell out of here. So thankfully, it wasn't really much because we weren't sort of like, smuggling.
It wasn't like you're smuggling drugs.
Yeah, or sort of, like white goods and stuff. So I think it was just like t-shirts, right? So,
So, that was the
next thing
time
you know,
when
Meenakshi's
brands,
right behind me and we're just getting the hell out of the airport.
yeah, that was the time when brands were still, they had not agreed to give us the products, and we were desperate to test the market also because we had put down our papers. So we were
Right.
like, we have to do this. And again, managing relationships. So through a friend of a friend, we kind of got a contact in Germany where we got like deep discounts on that season's product. And we
Right.
were able to bring all of that. So thank you to everybody who's been involved in our journey, so far.
No, no,
I
it's
think you're right, Meenakshi. I think shout out to everybody who sort of believed in us,
sure.
Even family, they've just been so supportive because we were at great places in our career with a great company, and for family to support us, turn our lives sort of upside down and come back and do this and keep sort of hustling is shout out to family, shout out to all our friends, beginning with Sven. It's
There are quite a
we
few
truly
questions in the chat here, Dion.
Yeah, I've asked a few of them.
All right.
I've just integrated them in. Uh, I'm gonna change lanes just a little bit, just because we should talk a little bit about education.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, Yellowbrick, Parsons, FIT have a course with Complex. We have a sneaker course and we have a streetwear course. Um, we have a lot of students or people, I shouldn't call them students because they're not in our class yet, but a lot of people reach out from India interested in taking the course. And one of the things that we hear a lot is people saying, I wish this was available like when I was younger. A course like our sneaker course or our streetwear course, how impactful do you think it would be to the creative community in India right now?
I would say this is the ask of the times that we are living in, and no better time for this course to be introduced but now, because even when we started and our platform started in we did our first pilot in 2018, and then our website started in 2019, early 2019. We kind of thought that we are doing this ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
And we were not sure if this is the right time, but now that the people here know what streetwear is, and they've seen the the madness behind sneaker culture and streetwear culture and just like youth culture in total, I think this is the right time for this to be introduced, because people are looking to get jobs in fields which are basically they're looking for passion jobs,
Right.
and working in a streetwear environment is something that everybody wants to right now. They don't want to be into a regular job like an engineer or a doctor, and they want to do something cool but still like being serious. So
Right.
streetwear industry is one of them. So yeah, I think this is the right time for the course to be introduced here.
It's amazing. Bhavisha, what do you think?
I think 100%. I think this course is the need of the hour, not just, for multiple reasons. Number one, given the times that we're in, plus the way, Gen Z is sort of wired. That's like the first generation, which is the digital natives, right? So the amount that they learn learn through online courses, the number of, people we meet because of word on the street and because of, we're obviously catering to the audience, and the amount they're sort of like learning off YouTube, off different websites. It's amazing. And this was like your EdTech platform seems perfect. And I kind of really like what your line is to offer passion, offer sort of like passion courses. So that's great. And the second bit is just given where we are in India right now and the number of streetwear labels that are coming up,
Right.
And a lot of them will just sort of like take a regular t-shirt. And sure, maybe all streetwear brands sort of started off with like maybe gilded blanks or whatever, just like blanks and, slapping on clever graphics. But there was innovation and storytelling. The brands that have survived from
Right.
when streetwear started, there has been that element of innovation, at least in the graphics, if not in silhouettes altogether, right?
Right.
So I think that's the one thing that I've taken a peek at your course, and that's the that's what the course emphasizes to begin with,
Right.
whole process of what is your brand story. It's not just about any graphic. Sure, there are a ton of brands available in India for like $10 selling t-shirts. But if you want to be a streetwear brand, there's got to be story. There's got to be something that will carry you through. And, the entire course is amazing, mood boards and just the whole breaking down the whole process of things. is great. Sure, there are design schools, and because streetwear is the flavor, maybe there's that sort of education that's also available. But this is the need of the hour in terms of how Gen Z is approaching this. So thank you, and hats off to you guys for building Yellowbrick, building this ad tech platform. In fact, we've already connected with someone who's done the sneaker course.
Wow. Okay.
Actually, a couple of people in India have done it. Two of them messaged us about that, and they were very, very happy with the course. So both the guys, they have done the sneaker course, and they said that they would like to do the streetwear course as well. And yeah, that was a good word.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of people reaching out from India, just trying to learn more. I feel like it's something that's starting to grow really, really fast.
Yeah.
I guess from the flip side of it, you guys got to play around inside the course. Is there anyone inside of our network, Yellowbrick Complex, that you guys would love to do something with, that maybe Yellowbrick could help you make that happen? Or I'd just like to know, you know?
I think both of us will have our own favorites about this question, but I would say that I would break this into two parts. We would love to collaborate with Mike Sherman from Chinatown Market, on the product side, because they are so clever, and like whatever they're dropping is so hot, it's very relevant to the youth and to the times today. That's one. And second would be, because we see you guys working a lot with Complex, and we have an event property called Word on the Street, which is like a completely community-based event. We would love if, Complex and Word on the Street could do something together in India in future.
Got you, for sure. I mean, if I can help drive that forward, I for sure will do my piece.
Thank you, Dion. Lovely.
Funny enough, Chinatown Market, a couple people on our team have some
relationships. My internet connection
is there a bad connection?
It's a bit unstable. That's what it says.
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you, but I think Bhavisha's screen is frozen.
Okay. What I was saying is a couple people on our team actually have a relationship with Chinatown Market. So over the next couple of days, I'll see if I can help make some connections and make the dream.
Awesome. Until now, we are the only people stocking Chinatown Market in India, and we brought their beautiful basketballs, and people have loved their products. So
wow.
Yeah, storytelling again, like there's big time storytelling there, and just the happy vibe that they spread through their products is, something that everybody loves here. So.
Gotcha. Okay, well, that's good to know, because we can help in any way to connect some dots and help to grow the community in India. We'll for sure do our part as well. Bhavisha, are you back on, or are you still stuck a little bit?
Looks like.
I think so, but I think my internet seems to be a bit sketchy, so I don't know if I'm freezing midway through.
I can hear you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, now it seems like you're back on.
Yeah. So, there's I love like the whole sort of talking about the business of culture, and, sort of having conversations with people, and, doing like this whole osmosis of established people, and, if there were ways where we could facilitate conversations,
Right.
Capsul, Yellowbrick, with people who are working with you all, like Complex, Parsons, and, maybe if we could have like a series of such conversations, which is usually actually an integral part of Word on the Street. So it kind of also feeds into what Meenakshi said. So we've always, done these panel conversations, and those would be great, to have like an Indian and sort of like a US perspective on those kind of things. And one person whose work and thinking and vision I admire a lot is James Whitner. So, it'd be great to sort of be able to connect with him, and maybe, have conversations with people in India, because I think it's also along the whole education track, right? How to make it in this, and sort of, I think a lot of people need to understand the size and scope of the business of this culture, and to hear it from people who've created it, and the value that they've created, and the just the opportunities they've created, to have that osmosis would be great.
No, that's good. James Whitner is in our streetwear course. We have a loose relationship with him too. So, on both sides, we can see what we can do for you guys.
Yeah. And another person who's sort of, sorry to interrupt you, but, someone who has a big fan following in India is Heron Preston.
Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting.
So, yeah.
So I mean,
So it's also sort of, yeah.
yeah, I mean, those are some really good names that are all over our program. So it's good to know that they have a following in India and that you guys have interest. So maybe we can see if we can try to connect some dots. We have a little bit of time left. Just quick question: if you guys have any questions for me?
I just wanted to know a couple of things about the streetwear course, and we have had those questions on our Instagram channel as well. So would you be able to share how much does the course cost? And is there, something special for the students who are joining if they have done something, another course from you guys before?
So yeah, generally our course costs $1,000 USD. We have a lot of different scholarship programs that we offer. So standard is $1,000, but I always encourage people, if money is the barrier, reach out to our team. We do a really good job of making sure that we do something for people who are super interested.
Right.
And then if you've taken one of our courses already, we look at you as an alumni and prefer we have a totally different setup for people who've taken courses before. So there's a preferred rate for people who've taken courses before. So we're always trying to help people. Our biggest thing is we don't want the barrier to being educated to be money. So as long as you're transparent with us and let us know, like I'm in a position where I would love to take the course, but maybe I need some help. Our team works really, really hard to make it happen for you.
All right. And is there, would the people who have enrolled for the course get like a mentor, or is it just a read through?
I wouldn't say it's just a read through. There's not a mentor that's assigned to you specifically, but what each course that we offer does a good job of is creating a community of people who are taking the course together. So for example, if all three of us are taking the course, there's a series of people that you can ask questions with and build relationships with. So it's not necessarily a mentor, but you're part of a community that builds together.
It would be, and this is just a suggestion because I saw, recently I saw an episode on YouTube where Virgil was mentoring a guy who was, presenting his concept for a streetwear brand that he was, developing. Yeah. And if something like that could be included later in your course, that would really help, like, with like a live mentorship of the person's project or the idea. I think that would take it to the next level.
Absolutely. I mean, we're always trying to evolve our course, so I really appreciate that feedback.
Super.
Okay, so in closing, we're going to wrap it up a little bit. I think it's important for people, to know where to find you guys. If you both can share not only your capsule information, but your personal IGs, because some people are asking in the chat. And then what we can do is jump into the Q&A and we can ride out with some of the questions that are inside of the Q&A.
So should I just type the IG here?
Yeah, you can. I mean, you can type the IG in the chat, and I would also say it as well, just for people to hear.
I don't know what my IG is. I'm going to quickly take a look.
No, but both of us are definitely available at the Capsule's IG all the time because we are a small team and all of us manage the social media. So that is who we are, Capsul, CAPSUL _. And our personal...
I think that's, just to sort of dwell on that a little bit, is CAPSUL, no E, and the underscore is really important because a lot of people claim they can't find us because they've forgotten the underscore or they put the E. So we're just CAPSUL, an encapsulated version of capsule with the underscore.
Got it.
Bhavisha, I'm just typing it out. So could you spell out your ID? All right.
And our web shop is shop.capsul.com. SHOPSCAPSUL.com.
Yeah.
So there's 3 questions here that we haven't tackled that are in the Q&A. I'll just shoot them out to close out. One of the questions is, does the clothing in India traditional style wear influence India's streetwear brands? The way I interpret it is, does the traditional India style influence the streetwear brands?
So it's already doing that, but it has influenced the street luxe section a lot because the traditional styles of India is very craft based and it's not easy to be manufactured in a mass way. Hence the prices are, they cannot come down under a certain, I would say, price line. But like brands like Not Black, Not White, for example, right. They use traditional techniques like tie and dye, and they do that all over your sweatshirts and your hoodies and your joggers, Another brand, Human, what they do is that they've been using the embroidery technique from India. And mind you that the embroidery techniques again vary from state to state. We have 30 states in India, 30 states, and the technique would vary from state to state. And these guys have been incorporating that style in making the graphics come live on their hoodies and sweatshirts again. So the traditional techniques are being incorporated in a very beautiful way in Indian labels as well.
I'd just like to add to that. There is, so while Meenakshi spoke about two of the, the brands that we've already mentioned earlier, there's one brand that's doing a fantastic job, and that's a brand called Yellowbrick. So basically Yellowbrick takes, traditional Indian kurtas, which is like the top, like the tunic, and they've given it a more uniform avatar. And they've actually called that range Vardi. Vardi actually means uniform, which is really cool, even as part of their branding exercise. So that's another brand that's really taking, and this is again something that can be worn by anybody, just the way they fabricated, they've engineered that garment. So, Yellowbrick is doing a great job. Also, Jaywalking is another brand that's doing a lot of embroidery, on their garments.
Wow.
So yeah, I would say that for sure there's a lot of the brands that have already been able to make a name for themselves definitely have India in the ethos of their brand.
That's amazing. I mean, there's such rich culture and colors that come out of India. So I would love to make sure that stays a part of the streetwear culture, because I feel like that's what's going to make it look different than the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Another couple questions here. One is, where in what part of India are you guys from?
Both of us are based out of Bangalore, which is south part of the India. Bangalore is part of a state called Karnataka. We are basically the Silicon Valley of India.
Okay.
And a lot of like headquarters of companies like Amazon and other e-com giants are also based out of Bangalore.
Got it. That's amazing.
Gives us a lot of inspiration here. A lot of things to look up at.
It sounds like it's super busy and there's a lot going on. So my last question that I ask everyone that I do interviews with is, if you have to lend advice to anyone who wants to get into the streetwear industry, whether it's in India or anywhere in the world, what would it be?
I would say look before you leap. But like do your research, put together your money and just get into it. Like streetwear is also about, being in the moment and doing a lot of DIY. However, you should not be that impulsive. Just do a bit of research, know where, what you're getting into, and then just go for it.
Got it. Bhavisha?
I'd say that if there is something unique, then go ahead, because everyone wants to be a streetwear label today. They just sort of like start something off and call themselves streetwear. But if there's no unique point of view, there's no value you're adding to the entire ecosystem. And then grow thick skin, because there are going to be a lot of people who sort of will reject your product before they accept it, and that's okay. It just makes you stronger. Right.
No, that's a good piece of advice, like the thick skin piece. Don't get emotionally attached to yes or no's, just get the work done. Thank you so much for the time and sharing your insights and your knowledge, and also sharing some of the goals that you guys are trying to accomplish. I personally will do my best to see if we can help connect some of those dots for you guys. Anything you want to share in closing before we wrap it up?
Oh yeah, we would love to share with our the viewers today and later with our community that we are partnering with Yellowbrick streetwear course to bring that to India, to introduce that to India this season. And we'll be working on a scholarship that Yellowbricks would be sponsoring for one of the people from our community. We'll be, putting out the communication and the form regarding it very soon on our website and on our Instagram. So look out for that.
For sure.
Yeah, it's going to be super interesting.
It'll be fun, and we're super happy. The whole Yellowbrick team is happy to support growing the streetwear industry in India. So anything we can do to help.
Thank you, Dion.
Thanks a ton, Dion. I'd also like to say thank you to Gregory, Julio, and Tyree for sending in their questions.
Yeah, shout out to Gregory and Tyree.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for making the time. What time is it there right now?
It's Vino time.
9:30 p.m. Yeah.
Okay, 9:30 p.m. So have a good night. I'll have a good morning, and we'll stay in touch, and let's work on that scholarship and continue to work together and build a strong relationship. But
all right,
thanks for making the time.
Thank you to you, Dion, and your team.
For sure. Absolutely.
All right.
We'll talk soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Dion. Bye.